This is an example of a ground covering juniper. It's on a drip irrigation system in my front yard, and the ends are real pliable and green, but towards the center of the plant, it's all brown and dried up, and I was wondering what the cause of this was.
On the juniper, this is somewhat normal with some of the low-growing junipers, because in the center, as you get towards the center, they do tend to die out, and as they're putting more growth out on the ends, you get a little bit of a void here in the centers. You can clip back a little bit on the ends, and that will help to cause some bud breakdown in the centers to maybe help fill some of that out. If the plant had gone under any kind of stress, a water stress or maybe a nutrient stress, you may have lost some of this older stuff on the inside. Some of the low growing stuff every once in a while gets stepped on, so if there was something that happened where maybe somebody stepped on it, there can be some damage there. When you fertilize, of course, you don't want to put the fertilizer in the center of the plant, you want to put it out around. But probably a lot of this is just normal for a low-growing, spreading juniper.
Okay, John, what I have here is a magnolia tree branch. The leaves are turning yellow. There's holes eaten in some of them. I've got a little mildew-looking growth growing between some of the leaves and the main branch. I was wondering if this tree is salvageable, and what do I do to cure it, and what can I do to prevent it in the future?
Okay, the magnolia has a couple things going on it, and we do see these. They do need a very protected area. We have a lot of high winds here in the southern part of the state, and a lot of the damage to the leaves is just physical or possibly mechanical damage, but some kind of physical damage to it, the breaks in the leaves. The leaves are very stiff, very tough. Anything that hits them usually will break through it or cause it to crack. These are older leaves. The magnolia is a plant that as it puts on new growth, it kicks off the old leaves, and so these leaves will be shed off the tree and you'll get a whole new batch of new leaves coming on it. So I wouldn't worry very much about this. This is kind of typical of magnolia. If all the leaves look this yellow, then it is a little off color. It may need some micronutrients added to it to bring some color back into it. But again, they need to be put in protected areas here in the southern part of the state, because the winds do cause quite a bit of physical damage to the leaves.
This evergreen shrub has green leaves at the top and yellow veining towards the bottom. We also have some brown markings on the inside of the leaf. And we'd like to know if we should be fertilizing, or is it too hot for that right now?
Okay. On the Japonica here, this the yellowing leaves on it are older leaves that are beginning to yellow, so the plant either can be putting on a lot of new growth, using some of the stored food reserve in the plant, maybe under stress, and you're getting some of the yellow leaves to develop. Again, as the plant puts on new leaves, it will begin to fill, and some of the older leaves that are beginning to yellow will fall off. If you can determine whether it's a stress-related problem like lack of water, of course putting more water on or tightening your irrigation frequency up a little bit so that you're watering a little more often will help. I don't see any insects on this. The little bit of spotting that we see on the leaves is just residue from maybe a sprinkler getting up on it, or if the plant might have been sprayed, there's a little bit of just some water droplet outlines of some of the mineral deposits that are left behind. But other than this, it just looks like a plant that's maybe been under a little bit of water stress.
John, this is an example of a stunted hollyhock. The leaves have a mosaic pattern to them. The tips of the flowers to be are drying up, and I'd like to know what is causing this problem.
Okay, on the hollyhock, we have a little bit of discoloration, a little bit of a chlorosis on it, maybe showing a little bit of a nutrient deficiency. The homeowner mentioned that it was a little bit stunted, so there could be some things going on with the root system, and the chlorosis is caused by the poor root system. There may be something else happening on it. Nematodes might be a possibility, or it could be a virus. These do attract quite a few different kinds of insects on them, and we do see some mummified aphids on here, so apparently there's a wasp that's been parasitizing some of the aphids that were on this. So there's probably a lot of different factors on it. It was mentioned this may be the only plant that's really affected, so probably just pulling it out will really help to control the problem. You can check the base for knots on the roots. That'd be a good indication of root knot nematode. But otherwise, it could be a little bit of a virus problem. The best thing to do is to pull the plant out.
This Bradford pear has a lot of different problems. Wrinkly, brown leaves on the front and the back, and some already misshapen fruit. I'm concerned that this has a terrible disease or an insect problem. Is there anything I can do this early in the season?
Okay, our pear sample here has a problem called blister mite. And blister mite's a little insect that gets in and actually kind of gets in between the folds of the leaf or in between the layers of the leaf. And on some of these you'll see a little bit of a browning on the underside here where it's actually gotten in and feeds there and causes it. This can be controlled with the use of again a certified or registered insecticide for use on pear. This is a fairly common problem on pear, and it's just one of the things that you have to contend with when you're trying to grow pears. This fruit is badly damaged also. This probably just needs to be pulled off and popped off and allow the rest of the pears on the tree to grow, but it could have been bothered by the blister mite or maybe just some roughening, you know, being banged around in the wind and stuff. But our main cause with the leaf curl and stuff is the blister mite, and again, that can be controlled with the use of a proper insecticide.